When I made that statement, I actually made it from sitting in the courtroom watching a judge just sentence men and women over simple violations like weed, marijuana. You smoke marijuana on probation, and you got sent to a state prison, and your kids grew up without a mother for 3 years.
In hip-hop, being successful once doesn't mean you'll stay successful forever. One bad album, legal problems, prison, personal struggles, or simply losing the spotlight can make fans believe an artist's best days are over, but some rappers refused to stay down. They disappeared, they struggled, they were written off, and then they came back. Here are 5 rappers who proved that a career isn't over until the artist says it is. Gucci Mane. There was a time when Gucci Mane's career looked completely out of control. He was already a major figure in Atlanta's trap scene, but his personal life was filled with legal problems, substance abuse, and repeated time behind bars. By 2014, Gucci was sentenced to 39 months in federal prison for possessing a firearm as a convicted felon. For many people, it looked like his career was heading toward a dead end, but prison ended up becoming a turning point. Gucci was released early in May 2016, and almost immediately, he went back to the studio. The next day, he released First Day Out the Feds, and the comeback wasn't just about one song. Gucci looked different, sounded different, and most importantly, he was focused. He had become sober, lost significant weight, and completely changed his lifestyle. Then came the music. His album, Everybody Looking, arrived only weeks after his release and debuted at number 2 on the Billboard 200. He followed it with more projects, more hits, and eventually became one of the most respected trap artists of his generation. Gucci didn't just come back, he completely changed the story people were telling about him. Meek Mill. Meek Mill's career was already huge, but his legal problems nearly overshadowed his music. His long-running probation case and repeated periods of incarceration kept him trapped in a legal battle that followed him for years. In 2017, he was sentenced to 2 to 4 years in prison for probation violations, and once again, people wondered what would happen to his career. But instead of disappearing, Meek turned his situation into part of his message. His prison sentence sparked massive public attention and brought renewed focus to problems within the criminal justice system. After his release in 2018, he returned to music with Championships. The album became a major success and debuted at number 1 on the Billboard 200. But Meek's comeback wasn't only about music. He became increasingly involved in criminal justice reform.
When I made that statement, I actually made it from sitting in the courtroom watching a judge just sentence men and women over simple violations like weed, marijuana. You smoke marijuana on probation, and you got sent to a state prison, and your kids grew up without a mother for 3 years.
Helping launch the Reform Alliance and using his personal experience to push for changes in probation and parole laws. So Meek didn't just return to the rap game, he returned with a bigger purpose, and that's what made his comeback different. Lil Wayne. Lil Wayne had already reached superstar status, but even he faced a period where his future looked uncertain. In 2010, Wayne served an 8-month sentence at Rikers Island after pleading guilty to a gun possession charge. While he was behind bars, his career didn't completely stop. In fact, his album, I Am Not a Human Being, was released during his incarceration and eventually reached number 1 on the Billboard 200. Then, after his release,
Released in style, rapper Lil Wayne left a Queens Correction Department facility riding in a $300,000 Maybach. Unlike other inmates, the rapper, whose real name is Dwayne Carter,
Wayne came back with The Carter IV. The pressure was enormous. He had to prove that his time away hadn't damaged his position at the top of hip-hop. But the album debuted at number 1 and showed that his fan base hadn't gone anywhere. Wayne's comeback proved something important. Sometimes, being away from the spotlight can actually make people want you back even more. Nas is a different kind of comeback story. He was never completely gone, but there was a period when people questioned whether he could ever recreate the impact of his early career. After the legendary success of Illmatic, Nas remained respected, but the conversation around his career changed. Then, decades into his career, he found a new creative partnership with producer Hit Boy, and that partnership completely changed the second half of Nas's career. In 2020, Nas released King's Disease. The album didn't just remind people why he was respected, it earned him his first Grammy Award for Best Rap Album. Then came King's Disease 2, followed by King's Disease 3. Suddenly, Nas wasn't simply an old-school legend, he was competing with a new generation and winning. His comeback proved that sometimes you don't need to recreate your younger self, you just need to evolve. Tyga. And then there's Tyga. For a while, it looked like his mainstream career was finished. He had already experienced huge success with songs like Rack City, but his later releases struggled commercially. In early 2018, his album Kyoto became another setback. Critics weren't impressed, and the project performed poorly. It looked like Tyga's time in the mainstream might be over. Then Taste happened, released with Offset. The song became a massive hit. It reached number 8 on the Billboard Hot 100 and became Tyga's first major solo chart success in years. Suddenly, the rapper everyone had written off was everywhere again. He followed Taste with songs like Swish and Dip, and his album Legendary continued the momentum. What made Tyga's comeback so surprising was how quickly everything changed. 1 year, people were questioning whether his career was finished. The next, he was back in the middle of the mainstream. And that's the lesson behind all 5 stories. Gucci Mane came out of prison and completely reinvented himself. Meek Mill turned legal struggles into a new purpose. Lil Wayne returned from prison and remained a superstar. Nas proved that an established legend could still reach a new creative peak. And Tyga showed that one huge record can completely change the conversation. Because in hip-hop, people are always quick to say, he's finished. But sometimes, being written off is exactly what makes the comeback even bigger. And that's why a career isn't over just because the spotlight disappears. Sometimes it's just waiting for the next chapter. Thanks for watching.